I mean, this is finally the end of so many years of destruction, Vanessa, and I know the family members felt this too. Multiple of them yelled at Lori Vallow Daybell. She seemingly had no reaction to that, and then she got up and spoke, but talked about jail conditions and the unfair trial process, according to her. She showed no remorse. She took zero accountability. In fact, she basically did the opposite. She said she didn't do this and that she mourns the losses of these victims with everyone else. Well, the family members saying their final words ever to the Doomsday Mom. A final farewell from those in the courtroom.
Lori, rot in prison.
A wink from Lori Vallow Daybell in response, leaving just as snarky as she's been since day one during her Arizona trials. Except this time, she has 2 more life sentences and had to listen to family members rip her apart. Larry and Kay Woodcock playing a huge part in this case since day one when Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow went missing. They are JJ's grandparents. Larry appearing by Zoom, angry at Lori for everything, including the way JJ was found.
You wrapped JJ's hands in tape. You wrapped his arms in tape. You covered his eyes. And you buried him in 8 inches of ground. Murderous!
Kay Woodcock, Charles Vallow's sister, speaking directly to Lori's psyche.
You still talk as if you're somehow misunderstood. No, wrong. You're fully understood. We see who you are, a manipulator, a liar, and a destroyer.
Kay then read a letter as JJ Vallow, and emotions overcame her as she yelled at Lori before tearfully sitting down.
And it was 13 years today that JJ's adoption was finalized. I trusted you!
While Charles Vallow was killed, Brandon Boudreaux narrowly survived the shooting attempt on his life, expressing how hard life has been ever since, including living with survivor's guilt.
A life filled with unwanted attention. Trauma.
Lori had a chance to talk, and she did, a lot, but mostly about unfair jail conditions and trial proceedings. Judge Boreski correcting her on her so-called facts multiple times. Lori claimed she didn't commit murder conspiracy and then went into some of her typical religious rants.
If I was accountable for these crimes, I would acknowledge it and I would let you know how sorry I was. So I want you to watch, because God will show the world great miracles.
Do you have anything else?
No.
Judge Boreski getting the last word with Lori, giving insight into just how unique this case is with a mountain of devastation in its wake.
I've seen many, many cases in my career where someone faces a long prison sentence for what amounted to one split-second bad decision. You are not that person. The amount of contemplation, calculation, planning, manipulation that went into these crimes is unparalleled in my career.
Lori Vallow Daybell was sentenced to 2 more life sentences today. She will now be shipped back to Idaho within the next 30 days to carry out those life sentences for the deaths of her children, Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow, and Chad Daybell's wife, Tammy. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, an end to all of this. Brianna, you have been covering this for years now. You had an interview with Vallow Daybell earlier this week that actually came up in court today. So how did this happen, and did this surprise you coming out of left field?
You know, it was interesting. Nothing that Lori says surprises me anymore. It's pretty delusional. She stays on her track and basically she diverts to, well, you weren't there, you didn't see what happened. She did that in our interview. She's done that in the courtroom. But it was brought up several times by the judge, by Trina Kay, the prosecutor, by Kay Woodcock, all of these people who say that she seeks out this media to tell her own story and kind of perpetuate these lies, but that everybody sees through them, that they are fake, that we know that not to be true. And so I thought that was interesting. The judge said, no more media, you're going to be going to prison. He said it would take a great act of God for her to ever go to heaven at this point. I thought that was interesting because all of these people now have spent so many months in the courtroom. But yeah, the interview was brought up several times, and that was the 3rd time we've talked to Lori Vallow Daybell. We got a little more information than before. She said she found the kids dead. Of course, that's likely a lie too, but she just says the same thing every time, and everybody tells her none of us are buying it.
All right, Brianna, thank you. And that full interview is up on azfamily.com. Another